Hey guys, this is Chubbs, and I want to introduce you to a brand new and excellent indie dungeon crawler called Legend of Grimrock. So let's start a new game. You have the ability to create your own set of characters, and also there's an old school mode where you can basically turn off auto mapping and just draw out your own maps using grid paper or whatever you want to use. I'm not going to create a whole party of characters just for the sake of shortening this video and getting us into the action, but I will show you the screen where you can do so. So you can set your race. Each race has its pros and cons. You have 3 classes in this game. You have fighters, which are like the close combat guys up on the front line. You have mages, which cast spells. And you have rogues, which sort of like can use a mixture of melee and ranged attacks. They can throw knives, use daggers, different things like that. Of course, you can change your portraits. You can put points into these different abilities like strength, dexterity, and so forth. And you can assign skills and choose different traits, which are sort of like extra skills that help you out in different ways. So that being said, let's go with a pre-made party instead of creating our own, and begin our journey here. So you can see that big structure there, that big mountain, or the spire as it says there, is Grimrock, Mount Grimrock. That airship that it's referring to and that you see now is carrying your party, the 4 prisoners. What's going on is the court has accused you of as it says there, treasonous deeds, but the king has more or less forgiven you. But the catch is, rather than just being set free, you're thrust down into this dungeon, and either you survive and get away as free people, or you die down in the dungeon like so many other people have done. So it's a pretty harsh way to forgive your crimes, but at least you have a chance of getting out of there. So when the game begins, you find yourself down here in the dungeon of Grimrock, and immediately when you play this game, the controls, just the controls and the movement alone really set it apart. So you can use the W, A, S, and D keys, just like in so many other games, to move forward, backward, strafe left, strafe right. And you also use the Q and E keys to turn you left and turn you right. So in this game, unlike in so many others, you don't walk around and use the mouse to look as you do so. You actually sort of move around like on a grid, and you have to turn left and right without using the mouse. If you stop though, you can hold down right click and look around and survey the environment. So there is a little bit of mouse look integrated into it, but you're not going to be using it a ton as you move around. So here we're faced with our first obstacle. We have a closed door. You can see there are no other open passageways, and you can even, since I didn't choose the old school mode, you can press tab and even see your map. But if we turn and look at this rock, or this wall, we can see some words that have been scribbled on the rocks or the bricks. And if we click on it there, you'll see it says, "Choose your fate, perish in this cell, or pick up the torch." Well, we don't want to perish in this cell, so we'll go ahead and do so. We'll pick up the torch, and I will stick the torch in the hands of my fighter. And before we go further, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to the 4 characters in our party that we've been assigned. The predetermined party or the pre-made party is the same every time you play. So this guy here, the first one in our party, is a fighter. He specializes in swords, armors, and athletics. The second guy, this Minotaur-looking guy, specializes in maces. He's a fighter as well. And the woman in our party, the third character, is a rogue. She specializes in several different things: throwing weapons, missile weapons, daggers. And last, but certainly not least, is our mage. He specializes in fire magic and spellcraft. He's going to be very important later on, and you'll see as we progress. So we'll take this torch here and stick it in my fighter's inventory. Torches burn out in this game, so it's not a bad idea to pick up a few extra and store them in your inventories. You can see it there. Looks like we have some clothing on the ground. I'll pick this up and we'll open up the inventory and examine it more closely. Looks like a pair of pants and a shirt. Looks like it gives him 2 protection each, so we'll give him those since he's one of our frontline fighters. And here is a weapon that's actually classified as a mace, a cudgel. I think that's how you pronounce it. And remember earlier that we said our Minotaur specializes in maces, so he's going to be better with it than our other guy who specializes in swords. So let's stick this mace-like weapon in the hands of our Minotaur. Pick up this torch here just to have another one. Click this lever. You'll notice I'm doing a lot of clicking. In this game you're going to be using your mouse cursor a lot to interact, and you'll see it even in combat. So this is one of the first puzzles in the game. You can see we have a pressure plate. It opens the door, but the moment you step off the plate, the door closes. So you'll see here, if we study the environment, there's a rock on the floor, so you can pick it up. And any items you put down here and left click on will drop. So now that the rock is on this pressure plate, the door remains open and we can pass on through. Looks like we found a key here. I'll stick it in this unused hand of our fighter. And looks like laying on the ground here is another rock. Remember earlier that I said the woman in our party is a rogue and she specializes in throwing weapons? Well, obviously a rock is not a great throwing weapon compared to like a knife or something like that, but it'll suffice for now. So let's use the key on the door and proceed. Looks like we have another locked door here. Requires a key. And some words written on the wall here again. So they say there's a loose rock around here somewhere. So all you have to do is just look around with your mouse. Looks like we have our rock right here. You click it and a passageway opens. There's the key that we need. So we'll go right back to this door here, use the key, and we have made it through. Here's our first enemy. What I like to do is rush into a room like this with 4 tiles, and in combat I prefer to try and get behind the enemy like I'm doing now. You don't want to let him face you, because even if you strike, there's a chance he can strike back. So notice the way that I'm maneuvering. I'm trying my best to hit him from his side or behind. You can see none of my characters took any damage in that battle. So that's a technique I would advise that you use. Now, if I would have stayed here and let him come to me, we would have been stuck facing him the whole time, because it's more or less like linear hallways. There's no way to strafe left and right and hit him from behind or anything. So in this room where that snail was at, we have some items here. I'll pick these up. And after we pick them up, we're going to go ahead and examine them more closely. So we have some pants and some boots. These pants offer more protection than the ones I picked up earlier. So I'll assign them to him, and I'll give him these boots too. And since our Minotaur is also a frontline fighter, let's give him the pants that we picked up earlier, just so he'll have some extra protection. You can see here's a knife. The skill's daggers. This will bring me to a good point here, actually, to discuss how the combat works. Now, recall that our rogue here, this woman, specializes in daggers. Now, what I could do, there's several ways you could play this out. If she's in the back row characters here, the 2 that are in the back, cannot attack what's in front of you unless they have a weapon that can be thrown or has long range. A dagger is obviously a short range weapon, so she can't attack at all. However, we could drag her up to the front like this, and if I then give her the dagger, she can attack with it. But the way I want to play her in this walkthrough or in this video is I want her to be in the back using throwing weapons. So I'm going to just give this dagger to my fighter just as a temporary thing, and leave her in the back so she can throw rocks or knives or whatever we pick up. And also, while we're on that same subject, The people up here in the front are the only ones that get hurt if an enemy attacks you from the front. But if an enemy hits you like from your side or from behind, all characters in your party take damage from what I understand. So all that talking aside, let's proceed. And look at what we found here. It fits right into what I was talking about. Looks like we picked up a throwing knife. That'll do more damage than throwing a rock. So we'll go ahead and throw this knife. And remember what I was talking about? We don't want to let the enemy face us, so we'll lure him into this nice big room where we can get some free hits on him. I'll throw the rock at him there until he gets in. And he's in a situation now where we definitely have the advantage. However, we're also facing another snail who's working his way into this room. Hopefully we won't have to fight two at once, because that's when it really gets dicey. You don't want to get cornered, because you'll be in trouble if you do. Looks like we took care of him though. Throw the knife, go to his side. You can see this tactic works very good. Just keep avoiding damage by hitting him from any direction but the one he's facing, and you'll do much better in combat. Your guys won't take any damage if you do it right. So the combat is tactical. It's a little bit slow, but as you get better weapons and stuff, it gets better. You'll notice too that I've not been using my mage for anything. The reason for this is I've not picked up any scrolls that teach me spells. So right now our mage is sort of just like in the back, not doing much. I could give him a rock to throw, but yeah, I've just not done that yet. I'll leave him in the back till we get a spell. Looks like we're faced with a locked door. We'll go down this hallway here and see what we come across. Looks like on the ground we have several items. We'll pick these up. There's another rock. Until our mage gets a spell, I will go ahead and give him these rocks to throw just for something. Because remember what I said earlier, the two people in the back cannot use melee weapons unless the melee weapons have long range. Now that we've picked up these items, let's open our inventory and examine them. So we have some sandals. These give 1 protection. Our boots give more protection, so I'm going to give these sandals to our Minotaur because he doesn't have any feet protection. And a loincloth. Looks like this takes down 1 willpower but adds 1 attack power. I don't want to replace our pants, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this to our rogue. That way it'll increase her attack power. She doesn't need willpower at this time. Willpower is like something that mages would use, because if we open their stats, you'll see willpower is the force of the mind and the ability to manipulate arcane powers. So that's more like a mage thing. So our party is outfitted. We're going to go find that key that we're after. So there's a locked door. Until we search this passageway here, I'm just going to leave it locked as it is. Looks like we have yet another rock. Getting a lot of rocks here. And a piece of bread. Now that we've got some bread, let's go ahead and open our characters. You'll notice that there's actually a food meter here. Now as you progress and as you go through your journeys, your characters will actually become hungrier, and you'll have to feed your characters. So we have 4 pieces of food right here actually. 2 snail slices, a maggot, ooh, that sounds tasty, and some bread. So let's just divide this food between our 4 party members, or among our 4 party members. You right click to eat it, and you'll see the food meter goes up, and each of your party members has separate food meters. And by consuming that food, they're all topped off and they're not hungry at all, so we're in good shape. So let's return to this door. Let's unlock it or open it. You'll see that's something we don't want to mess with there, a pit. However, once again, we have some words here that might advise us on what to do. They say, to close the pit, something needs to fly. Well, obviously our characters can't fly. But we do have something we can throw. So let's try throwing a rock. Looks like that did the trick. The rock landed on the pressure plate, which closed the trapdoor. Now if we take the rock off the pressure plate and back off, we're going to fall down into this trap and hurt ourselves pretty badly. So that led us to a key there, which we need to use to unlock the door that we approached down through here. Now we're faced with a creepy looking statue or a face, and some more words of wisdom here. Looks like it says, "Heal my sight." Well, his eyes are both missing, so obviously we're going to have to find something to put in both of his eye sockets. We have 2 paths to take. I'm going to take the left path first. We have another closed pit, but we have a lever. Looks like that did the trick. And at the same time we have a snail creeping up on us here. So I'm going to lure him into this larger room, use the same tactics I was talking to you guys about earlier. This is how I would advise you to play the game if you're starting out. Lure an enemy into a room that's large enough for you to circle around him like I'm doing, and it should work out better for you. There we go. Absolutely beasted on that snail. Didn't even take a hit. Let's go collect this rock that my mage threw. 2 of them actually. And looks like we're faced with 2 more passageways. I'm going to take this one. Like there's nothing here. Let's go to the left passageway. Nothing in here either, but we do have some items. Let's first take a look at what we got on the ground. Notice that the room sort of changed the color. Our torch is actually burning out. You can see the status of the torch change. So since this torch is no good, I'm going to, in fact, it just burned out completely since I took it off. I'm going to set it down over there and equip one of our backup torches. So that's why I told you guys earlier, it's good to get torches and keep them as backup in case the ones you have burn out. Looks like there's another rock here. And Scroll of Fireburst. Sounds like something our mage could use. So let's open our inventories and study what we've got. So we picked up a tattered cloak, which helps with evasion. I'll just equip it to this guy because it goes up in this slot. And yet another loincloth. Now, I don't want to use this on my mage. He's the only one who doesn't have something in that slot, because if I do, it's going to take down his willpower. And I want his willpower to be high because he casts spells. So I don't want to change that. So I just kind of leave the loincloth in my inventory for now, not equip it on anybody. Let's open our mage and look at our Scroll of Fireburst. So notice in the upper left hand corner, as I'm highlighting this, there's a rune, just one rune that's clicked, and it says it requires Fire Magic 2. Well, if we look at his skills, he has 2 points in the Fire Magic, so we should be good to go. Now that we know how to use this spell, you click the rune in the upper left hand corner. Let's give it a shot. So what you do to cast a spell, I'll move the rock over here. You right click on one of his free hands or a staff if you have one. You click the runes associated with the spell you want to cast. In this case it's just one rune in the upper left. Then you left click, and we've discovered the Fireburst spell. And from now on, to cast it, that's all you have to do. You just right click, click this button down here finally, and it casts the spell. You can even leave it up like I'm doing now so that it's always ready, and cast it that way. Make it a little bit quicker so you don't have to go through so many steps. So it looks like we have a snail that's his back's faced to us. I'll back up and throw a knife at him. We're throwing knives, rocks. We're throwing everything we got at this snail but the kitchen sink. Looks like we killed him off before he could even get to us. Here's another one. There's actually a lot of them in there. Looks like we've got 2 other ones in there with him. So we're going to have to lure these guys out, fight them one at a time. Notice if you look at my mage, in my mage's panel there in the lower right, his blue bar, which is his energy, is low, and if his energy gets too low, which happens from throwing things, casting spells, then he won't be able to do those anymore. So you have to be careful. If you cast too many spells in a short period of time, your energy will get so low you can't cast anymore. So we have one more stupid snail to deal with. I'm just going to lure him out here. Throw some rocks at him every now and then until he gets into this large room. That is, if we don't kill him before he gets here. There we go. Took care of him. That should be the last snail. As hard as it may be to believe at this time, this is not a snail killing simulator. And looky what the snails were guarding. Looks like we have a blue gem. And if you'll remember earlier, we had to fill the statue's eyes with something, and that looks like it would fit in there pretty well. So here's yet another puzzle where we did get what we were after, but now we're stuck in here. Even stepping on this pressure plate doesn't do a darn thing. So you gotta look around. Aha, look here. Looks like we have a loose rock. That opened it for us. That is until I stepped on it again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try a few different things here. Try setting a rock on it. There we go. Then you can pick the rock back up on your way out so you don't lose it. And we'll continue on with our journey. So we have one gem. Let's go ahead and stick it in one of those sockets. Looks like it fits pretty well, so we just have one to go. Now let's take this right passageway and see what this leads to. Oh crap! Looks like we have some sort of a tree thing. I don't like the way that thing looks, that's for sure. My mage's energy, his blue bar is getting pretty low, so I'm gonna start using my 2 fighters up front some more, let his energy recharge. Lure this tree looking weird thing into this big room where I can take advantage of the game's combat system. Try and strafe around him, get behind him, do whatever I can to avoid damage. And I killed him off. Picked up the rock, and there's yet another one. So let's do the same thing to him. Let's lure him out. Avoid as much damage as we can. Just throw rocks at long range until he makes it into this large room, just like he's done now, and then we can pretty much safely hit him from behind or from the side. He should be pretty well damaged by now. Keep missing him. Should be just a couple more hits. There we go. Took him out. And we have some more in here too. So we're just gonna have to keep fighting these guys, is all I can say. Good thing is though, since this already is a good room to do combat in, we don't have to worry about taking all that time to lure him out into a favorable position. However, it looks like we have company now. We have 2 of them on our screen, and yeah, this is not good. What you want to do if you have 2 is take them on one at a time. If you have to, lure them into a hallway like this, because if you get 2 of them on you and they corner you, you're basically stuck there till you kill them both, and that's a bad situation to be in, because you're gonna take a lot of unnecessary damage from that. This guy should be pretty badly hurt. I just hit him with a big combo of attacks there. Should be just a couple more hits. If I don't miss every time. Alright, just one more hit. Come on. Come on, hit him. Ah, just one more. It's got to be. There we go. Whew, gosh. Sure have fought enough of those things here. This room here was just full of them. Looks like that's the other gem that we're after. Question is, how do we get to it? So, looks like we have some more mushrooms here. Tar bead. Looks like that lever did the trick. So we have our second gem here that we can stick in his eye. We'll see what happens. Oh, shh. That's not good. So we have company. You'll see too that as we fight different enemies, the same strategy can be used. This guy here is a little bit quicker to attack than the other enemies. These are kind of tough because they'll strike back really quickly if you get in their line of sight or if they're facing at you. So you gotta be a little bit quicker to maneuver around these. So we took him out. Looks like he dropped some goodies too. He dropped a big shield and a spear. Alright, so before we proceed, let's take a look at what we picked up from him. We have a shield, gives us extra evasion, and this will come in handy. Here, I'll go ahead and stick the torch in our Minotaur's hand. I want to give this shield to my main fighter, my first fighter. A spear. This is a reach weapon, which means that your characters can attack from the back. I'm going to give this to my rogue because this, although the spear is a melee weapon, it has a pretty good distance and she can hit enemies even though she's in the back of the party. Other than that, looks like that's what we picked up. So now my main fighter has a shield and a sword, and my rogue has the ability to stab enemies with her spear. So we have a big old door here and a scroll. I wonder what this will say. Looks like it says Doors of Iron. Great rewards can be found behind these doors. To gain access, look carefully for small details and use your wits. Look carefully for small details. So we'll do that. There's one small detail, although that didn't appear to do anything. I'll pick up another torch while I'm at it. There's another detail. Looks like that opened the door, and we have some more goodies in here. We have a wand, which will stick right in our mage's hand, and another scroll. Let's see what this scroll says. This magical staff is a powerful weapon when wielded by a potent mage. So that wand gives him 5 energy, which will allow him to cast more spells. So that'll be helpful. This is a beautiful looking crystal thing. There's a scroll that'll probably tell us more about this. It says it's the crystal of life. Touch it to regain health and restore life. So we'll give it a touch even though our party members were perfectly healthy. And it also saved our game for us. And we have a scroll of Poison Cloud here. So this spell, instead of using the rune in the upper left, looks like you have to click the one in the lower left. And this basically creates a poisonous cloud that poisons enemies as they walk through it or stand in it. So let's try and cast it. So I'll click this rune in the lower left. then it says he's not skilled enough to cast that spell. So if you highlight it, it says at the bottom there, the required skill is Earth Magic 3. When we look at his skills, you'll see his Earth Magic is 0. So what we're going to have to wait and do with him is level him up and invest at least 3 points into Earth Magic to be able to use this new Poison Cloud spell. So that pretty much does it for this first floor. These are the steps leading down to the second. You can see the entire map of level 1 that we've explored, or floor 1. Let's go ahead and move down. Our torch is starting to go out too. You can tell by the way it changes colors. So let's stick a new torch in our Minotaur's hand. Move down, and the journey continues.